What's up, Defines? Welcome to Define Productions. This is our first attempt at a live. We are live on TikTok right now. I can see that we got people joining the podcast as we speak. We're going to do this thing. We're going to have a version on YouTube, like I said, while we were doing our pre-production. If you are not following us on YouTube at this point, go to YouTube, type in the search bar, Define Productions. I think this morning I see we have something like 210 videos, both long and short form. Every week we do a podcast, somewhere between 45 minutes and an hour that we post on the YouTube, and then somewhere between 5 and 10 short form videos throughout the week we post as well. If you comment on our videos, it's usually me commenting back. We are interactive on every comment that we get, as long as it's not, straight up spam. Yeah. We're here for I'm the Bitcoin Maxi. He's the quasi ETH Maxi. He knows all the alternative coins.
I wouldn't say I'm an ETH Maxi. Let me correct that real quick. I just whatever opportunities present itself. Over time, I'm slowly becoming a Bitcoin Maxi because, when your portfolio grows, you don't want to be diversified in 20, 30 different coins. But to get that initial step to that really big portfolio, you have to take a little bit more risk, but also be smart about it. Don't shitcoin. Don't just buy meme coins. I'm not saying don't buy meme coins, and I know your thought process has kind of changed around that, where you're all about no meme coins. But if it's 1, maybe 2% of your portfolio in meme coins, as long as you have an exit strategy, I don't see any problem with that, because meme coins are fun, and have fun with it, at the same time grow your portfolio. So I kind of have both things, but yeah, I'm slowly becoming, a Bitcoin Maxi. And I think that's the ultimate goal for everyone is, if you're in multiple different coins, different narratives, some big narratives to watch out for are gaming, because gaming's a multi-billion-dollar industry. Gaming and AI, which is huge. Crypto is going to be a huge part of AI. So there's a lot of great coins in that category. And I have them on my watch list right here, but we're not going to pull it up just yet. But we have real-world assets. So what are things that, like Chainlink brings real-world data on chain? And I think, a lot of these projects, most of them use oracles, and Chainlink is behind the scenes, and that's how something's a good investment. If it's behind the scenes, but you don't know you're using it.
Mm-hmm. They can't explain how it works, but they know that they need it, and they use it every single day.
Yeah. That's how you know.
And to be clear, too, yes, I'm a Bitcoin Maxi, but I also, live in the real world and deal in fiat. So, I pay my bills in fiat. So my goal is to accumulate as much fiat as I possibly can to take care of all my responsibilities and to accumulate more Bitcoin. So if I'm doing that through my manual labor or I'm doing that through investments, then of course it would be kind of contradictory for me to say, oh, I can't buy coin X because maybe I can buy it for $1 and turn it into $5 and use that $5 to buy more Bitcoin. So it's yes, I'm a Bitcoin Maxi because I believe that Bitcoin is the apex predator asset, just like Michael Saylor says. I believe there is no better investment on the planet than Bitcoin. However, I will use some of these other coins to accumulate more Bitcoin. And the Bitcoin Maxis that tell you that that's ridiculous, I think they're ridiculous.
Mm-hmm. And another kind of mindset to have, especially during the bear market, is let's say you're working hourly, 20 bucks an hour, right? And you're working 20 bucks an hour. But if you know how to put that money in a good spot, park it, earn some, more money on it, that 20 an hour is really 60 an hour, because if you're investing it in the right coins, you have the right idea, you're not blowing it on, the latest designer, or just blowing it on materialistic things. You're really making 60 to 100 an hour. If you can get a 200, 300, 400% gain on that money that you've earned through active income, that's how I'm kind of looking at it right now. That's why when we went to the casino the other day, I didn't gamble. I watched you, have fun and stuff, but I'm wow, if I just blow $100 right now, that could be $1,000 during the bull run.
Sure.
And right now we're at the tail end. We're at the tail end of the bear market. So, nice. Like that camera. Yeah, we got some good lighting in here. We're at the studio. We changed it up. At first we originally started shooting the podcast. I was in my office. You were in your basement. Mm-hmm. We felt
the Bitcoin Bat Cave.
Yeah, now we're in the Bitcoin Bat Cave. So we'll take a look at the charts.
Let's jump in.
Bitcoin. We've been consolidating. So we're looking at the daily chart right now on Bitcoin. And if you're viewing on TikTok, you can't see, but if you want to just pull up the chart, for the last, 2 weeks, we've been range bound between 35 and 38. So we're kind of at that midpoint.
We did breach 38 this week for the first time. That's the high. It's the high that we've had since this bear market has started. We hit, at least I saw on CoinStats. I don't know where it was on any other exchanges. I did see it hit 38.2.
Yeah, it top ticked it.
Yeah, it definitely hit 38.2. And then bounced off that and hit that resistance.
That was bearish. You could I know you don't care about the candles and like
not really worried about it so much. But I know.
But if you look at the daily candle, this looks like an inverse hammer. Like this thing breached 38K and got smacked right down. Like people are like, you know what, it's not your time today, because everyone's like shooting for 42K Bitcoin. It's like when the masses and when everyone's thinking about this number, like typically it's the opposite. But I'm not selling, and it sucks. Like we have some time, but like most people get bored. They're impatient. Like they're going to get washed out of this market really quick. So as soon as we hit 38K and we start trending down, it was like I went to the grocery store and I just bought a shit ton of groceries, like more than normal, because I'm like, this is going to be a long bear market. I got to be.
We already talked about this. I don't even think we're in a bear market anymore. I think we already are at the beginning stages of the bull. This is normal price action.
Yeah.
This is just what Bitcoin does. Like, again, goes back to like, we're not trying to time the market. We're spending time in the market. Like, it's more important. Right. You don't try to time the market. It's the time in the market. Yeah. Any 4 years time sample that you use with Bitcoin, you're in the profit. If you bought it at, we're at 2023 today. If you bought it sometime in 2019, you're in the profit. Yeah. You know what I'm saying? So like when you want to look at 2023 and you want to push out 4 years, 2027, like, are you in the profit? Is that still working? Like, this thing has been cycling. It's been going through a bull cycle, a bear cycle around the halving since its inception. We see no reason for it to stop at this point. We got ETFs around the corner. Like, if you become a person that has conviction in this ecosystem, the coins that you really, really like, you end up, at least this is how this is for me, especially with Bitcoin. When Bitcoin doesn't do anything, that's great, because it gives you great dollar cost averaging opportunities. Like you're making your normal purchases at the same price. You know what I'm saying? So you when it goes up, it means it costs you more fiat to get the same value that you would have gotten a couple of days ago. So today you're getting satoshis, a little bit cheaper,
2-3% discount,
which is good. And as you're trying to accumulate, and getting to that next milestone. Like for me, I think every million satoshis is a milestone that I look at, like getting that 0.01. Like, so, Bitcoin, for those of you that don't know, is broken down into 100 million satoshis. So there's 1 million satoshis in 0.01 Bitcoin, and you should be trying to set yourself up, especially if you're somebody that doesn't have the means to buy that one whole coin at $37,000. Like you should be looking at realistic milestones. Get to that first million satoshis, get to 10 million satoshis, get to a tenth of a coin. Have those goals for yourself. And then whatever altcoin you're in, if you're in ETH, like same sort of thing, like try to get to that first ETH, or try to get to half a ETH.
Well, that's where unit bias comes in. People look at 37,000 for a full Bitcoin, and then they go chase the meme coins that are trading at 0.00001 because they're biased against that full unit. And like people, you have to understand, like this is fractional. Like you can buy fractional shares or satoshis all the way down to, like you said, every one Bitcoin's broken down into 100 million satoshis. Ethereum's broken down, so you can buy everything fractionalized. But that's comes down to your tolerance. Like,
it's such a new ecosystem still. We're still only 13, 14 years old. So this is going to be ripe with fraud. Like, it's just how it is. You're going to have scamsters, fraudsters, shysters, and grifters come into this space because it's so new. And you have a lot of people that are vulnerable to these types of scams. So like I've said before, like 95% plus of coins that exist right now, I don't think exist in 10 or 20 years. Yeah. So you have to be mindful of that when you're investing. So you don't get married to these shit coins that you're putting your money into. You should be using them to accumulate like whatever it is. Like you don't have to, just because like I'm a Bitcoin maxi or I'm into crypto or I'm into Bitcoin and you're into crypto and stuff like that. it isn't like, I'm not saying that that's what you have to do. Whatever your goal is, whatever you're trying to accumulate, are you trying to put yourself in a better financial position to buy a house? Are you trying to put yourself in a better financial position to put your kids through college? Whatever that is, I'm not here to tell you what's right and what's wrong, but whatever that financial goal is, you should be working towards that and have some sort of goal set up that you're following to get to that goal instead of just flying by the seat of your pants. Because when you're flying by the seat of your pants, you are a mark to be scammed.
Yeah. And another point to add to that is, especially like when I first got into this, I would compare my chapter 1 to someone else's chapter 20, right? You know, everyone's on their own path. It's a marathon, not a race. So like you'll see these flashy portfolios or these nice, you know, materialistic things, especially in the crypto world, because, you know, there's a lot of money to be made, but there's also a lot of money to be lost. But just understand that everyone's at their own pace, or everyone's at their own pace. Everyone's at their own pace. So don't, you know, compare your success or where you are at, because, you know, it's a marathon, not a race. Like, it's a slow and gradual process, and you have to understand that, right?
Great segue, what you just talked about, because I wanted to talk about financial literacy today. Right. I wanted to have a conversation about that. So, you know, the part of the problem that we have in this country is that, you know, most of our population is not financially literate. Statistics bear it. 8 out of every 10 person walking around is living paycheck to paycheck. After the pandemic, we saw an explosion of people making 6 figures or more living paycheck to paycheck. That number was somewhere around 12 to 13% pre-2019. After the pandemic, we're somewhere in like the 40% range. 40 to 45% of people making 6 figures or more are living paycheck to paycheck. That's the guy making $150,000 a year that's living like the guy making 35 or 40, still struggling to pay his bills. That's not because the money's not enough. That's because the mindset is all jacked up. That person is trying to keep up with the Joneses, which is kind of what you were saying. Like, all right, my neighbor gets a new car. I got to get a new car, right? My neighbor puts a pool in his backyard. I got to put a pool in my backyard, right? Neighbor's rolling around in a Lexus. I got to get a Lexus, or I got to get something better than the Lexus, right? Instead of taking a look at your financial situation and saying, well, what is realistically that I can actually afford, instead of just buying these things to impress people that really don't care about me or I care about them, right? It's just a crazy ideology that we live by. And part of that is our school systems. At least if you're watching this and you're living in the United States, like, our school systems completely fail at this. They do not properly set us up to be contributing adults to society. Let me peel that back a second. They set us up to be great consumers. Right? They set us up to have that mindset that we should just go out and buy things. And if I don't have the cash for it, I'll zing up the credit card and I'll just accumulate all this debt because I got to keep up with this person that I don't care about and they don't care about me, right? Keeping up with the Joneses. So it gets these people in these situations where they get so far behind. Just schooling itself. Like, think about schooling itself. Like, you know, my generation taught, you know, need an education, go to college, have to do that, right? You're starting off right off the muscle. 20, 30, 40, 50, 60, $100,000 in debt before you even get a paycheck. So you're already starting behind. And that's like a normal, okay mindset in this country. And that's jacked up. Like, we set ourselves up so far behind. So we don't understand basic financial literacy. So for guys like me and you doing this podcast, talking to people that are watching us on TikTok or talking to our audience on YouTube and trying to get them to like think more advanced about, you know, Bitcoin as his apex predator asset, or buying these other coins and accumulating wealth, and how the fiat system is a scam. Like, people are like, whoa, I don't understand none of that, because they don't understand the system that they're engaged in. You know what I'm saying?
Did you notice, like, it's mostly like the broke people that are out Black Friday shopping because they're looking at, oh, there's a sale. No, there's no sale. You're just getting sucked into the consumer, you know, mindset where it's just like that's what they do. Like, I didn't even do any Black Friday shopping.
Me neither.
If I need something, I'll go get it. I don't need 20%.
Well, think of the psychology of Black Friday itself, right? You're being forced subconsciously to believe that that's the day that you need to go out and shop. Like, that I'm being forced to go buy things on that day instead of just buying things. Like, think about when I need something, I have to go get it because I need it, right? If I need it, I go get it. But like, I'm going to wait until the specific day that I'm being, you know, sold this idea that I'm going to get the best possible deal on that day to buy it. I mean, it's just, psychologically, it's just like, it's crazy. And we're just like, we talk about this all the time. Like, I talk about it a lot, like that, like, we're living in a legitimate matrix. Like, not to the point, maybe like I've said this before, like Andrew Tate talks about it, but like there's some truth to the fact that like we are programmed to believe certain things and think certain things, and it drastically negatively affects our lifestyles, especially in the realm of finance. And there's a reason why we are the absolute richest per capita country in the United States. We print money to infinity, so we got all the money here, yet our citizens are overwhelmingly horrible managing it.
Ethereum, 2028. Year 2028. What's Bitcoin's price? 2028. That's probably the next bear market, right? We're thinking ahead because we already planning our exits. You're not exiting.
23, 24. We top out in 25. Bear market in 26. No, we're coming. That's
the start of the next bull. Do you think crypto?
I don't know, man. There's a conversation that this is going to be the first. This is going to be the first cycle where the institutions are like here.
So you think there won't be no 4-year cycle? Do you think?
I won't. I'm not willing to.
The suits are coming.
I'm not willing to make that proclamation until I see a little bit more data.
Right. If only we had a crystal ball.
Yeah. I don't know, because the halving supply shock is its own like phenomenon. So until I see it break, I won't believe that it's broken. Mm-hmm. You know what I'm saying?
Let's take a look at the total 3, which is excluding Bitcoin and Ethereum, the 2 largest cryptocurrencies by market cap. And, this is the altcoin market. So I like to look at this to justify, okay, like we're at the top, the higher part of the range on the altcoins. But if you can get a breakout over 450 billion, which is taking all the cryptocurrencies, excluding Bitcoin and Ethereum's market cap, this is what excites me. I know you're the Bitcoin guy, but this chart right here is what excites me, and I think, this will start breaking out here soon.
I want to do something real quick because we've never been live.
And then
before.
we can take off.
Can you look at this after we're done and like see comments and stuff like that? Oh, you're getting a phone call. Look at that.
First, it's a call-in show now too.
Yeah, now we got Collins. If you're watching,
hey, it's my mom. What's up, Mom? You're live. We're live.
If you're watching this live on TikTok right now, I'm very curious because we have this debate very, very often. I'm very, very pro Bitcoin. Troy's very, very pro ETH. If you're watching this live right now, I want you to put in the comments, which coin are you more bullish on, or are you more into? Put either BTC or put ETH in the comments if you're more pro Bitcoin, or you consider yourself more Bitcoin maxi, or if you consider yourself more ETH maxi. BTC or ETH in the comments, and then Troy will take a look at it later on, and then maybe we'll mention it in the next podcast that we do, or maybe some short form content.
Awesome. All right, let's move on to this first set of news. So there's this 3-minute video. I'm not going to be able to play it for the guys that are watching live, but we can talk about it. And it talks about how fractional reserve banking works in the United States. And this is a podcast with Joe Rogan. Basically, it explains it in under 3 minutes. So I'm going to play this, put this in the long form content.
The whole system of fractional reserve banking is really kind of this fascinating thing, because everybody still kind of has in their mind that if you kind of have in your mind that the money in your bank account is your money and that you're holding it, that they're holding it for you.
Right.
But that's not right. That's not what's going on. And if you ever actually read the contract that you sign when you open a checking account, that's not what it is. It's more like you're loaning money to the bank and they owe that money to you. But they don't have to give it to you. You could, legally speaking, you could walk in tomorrow to a bank. I mean, no one actually walks up to a teller anymore.
It's a Wonderful Life isn't a Christmas movie. It's a banking movie.
Oh, yeah. So that is the scene. I was right about that. Okay. But so you could walk into the bank tomorrow and your checking, account balance is whatever, say it's $5,000, and you could go, I'd like to take out $2,000, and they can say no. You can't have it. Now, they owe it to you, technically, but they don't have to give it to you. They're not just holding it for you to give to you on demand. Now, the system hasn't collapsed, so they will give that to you today if you walk into a bank. But
if too many people come in and they want too much money.
Well, they don't have it. Yeah. Is the point. So when you open a bank account, and I don't know exactly what the reserve rates are now because I know they did change this during COVID, but for a while it was 10% was what the Federal Reserve set as the reserve that you had to put away. So when you come into your bank and you give them $100 to open a checking account, just to make it an easy number, they hold $10 and they loan out $90. And now, so they'll loan that money out, and so essentially they owe you $100. But the effect of this, right, is that now there's this guy. So let's say you open the account with $100. Now there's another guy who takes out a loan for $90, and you're now in the economy, and kind of like you think you have $100, and he thinks he has $90, but really there's not $190. There's only $100. That you get what I'm saying? But now here's where it gets even crazier than that. This guy doesn't just hold his $90, he goes and puts it in the bank. And so the bank holds 10% of that money and then loans out 90% of that to somebody else, who then puts that money in the bank. And then they take 10%. So when you actually look at the effect of it, there's like not nearly as much money in the bank as we all think we have in the world. So essentially, if everybody came into the bank, or even just too many people came into the bank and said, we'd like to withdraw our money, there's nowhere near enough money for them to give you. So inherently, the whole thing is kind of a house of cards.
It's like when you're going to a stadium and you try to use your cell phone, you realize there's no signal, even though you have 5 bars.
Right.
Because everyone's using their phone.
Mm-hmm.
So there's no signal for you. You
Right.
can't get online. You can't make a phone call.
Right, like this thing only works if we're not all trying to do it at the same time.
Exactly.
But if we do, then we're in a lot of trouble. The whole
All right, let's just talk about the video. So, what is this? What is the guy's name? I forget his
name?
his first
Chief
name.
Nerd? No, that's
Well, the crux of the conversation, Joe Rogan had a guest on, and the guest, which is awesome, because obviously everybody knows the Joe Rogan podcast is the largest podcast, I believe, in the world at this time. I don't think there's a bigger podcast than the JRE podcast, the Joe Rogan Experience. He had a guest on, and this video clip shows a 3-minute explanation of what fractional reserve banking is. And for those of you that do not know what fractional reserve banking, he broke it down simply, saying that when you put your money in a bank, you are essentially giving the money to the bank, and you have a paper contract on that money. So it's actually the bank's money. You just have an IOU that you can come back and get that money again. And the bank can do with that money whatever they wish with that money. And what the banks essentially do is perpetual money creation. We talk a lot about the money printers, right? We talk about, the Federal Reserve printing money, and during COVID we saw the mass printing of money. We saw, $10 trillion being printed in the form of stimulus checks to the citizens, PPP loans, helping out businesses, all that money that got flooded into the system, and then, the inflation that came behind that because of the consequences of that. Well, we talk about money printing, and money printing happens every single day at banks. So the example that they gave is like, you take a $100 bill and you go to your bank. Let's say we take it to Bank of America, and I put $100 in the bank, okay? I deposit $100 in the bank, and I get a credit saying that I have $100 with Bank of America. You go to Bank of America, and they can take, at different times, the reserve, the minimum reserve has been somewhere around 10%. During COVID, it was actually 0, which means that they could actually do what I'm about to say at 100%. But let's say it's 10%, because it revolves around that, and that's about what it would be. They could take $90 of the 100 that I put into the bank, and you go to the bank and you want to borrow from the bank, and you borrow that $90 from the 100 that I put into the bank. So my $100 credit is still there. Now you come to the bank and you borrow the 90. So now on the bank's balance sheet is not just my $100, it's also $90 that you borrowed. So there's $100 there, $90 that you borrowed, and let's say you take that to another bank and you deposit it in the bank. So now there's, from that $100, there's now $190 in the system. Now you take that $90, put it in the bank, and now they're able to keep 9% of that and give out 81%. And you can see how this can continue to repeat itself. And that $100 bill has created so much more money in the system behind it.
that's not there.
That wasn't there to start.
Mm-hmm.
So this complete like fraudulent system of U.S. fiat dollar plays itself out on a daily basis, and most citizens had no idea that it's going on. Like when I mention fractional reserve banking to just normal people, they have no idea what I'm talking about. And I used to work a job where I did a finances group. I've talked about this before. I was working in inpatient rehab, and our patients would come in, and most of them had, devastating issues because of their addictions to certain substances. So obviously their finances were messed up. And I did this finances and recovery group. 99% of the people sitting in my group had no idea what fractional reserve banking was. And when I broke that down to them, jaws would drop. And they're like, huh? You mean that they're just like making money? Like, it's like, they would, what the most of the time they would say? It sounds like Monopoly.
Yeah.
When you go to the bank and you deposit money in the bank, you are giving the bank the ability to take that money and borrow that money out, depending on the rules. During COVID, like I said, during COVID, it was 0%. So during COVID, it was perpetual money to infinity. The $100 kept reprinting. There was no 10% reduction of what was being given out. So let's use like May of 2020 as an example. I go to the bank and put $100 in. You go to the bank and borrow $100. They're allowed to take my 100 and credit me with 100, credit you with 100. You take the 100, go to another bank. So now I'm credited 100, you're credited 100, Rich is credited with 100. And that just kept going and going and going and going and going. So not only is all that 10 trillion that the Fed printed going into the system, but all the money that's being created by the banks is also going into the system. That's why you can never stop inflation. And that's why the CPI number is fraudulent. They keep changing the metrics that they use because they don't want to scare the living shit out of you when you realize like how much things are really getting expensive. Great website. Talked about it before. WTF happened in 1971. You can take a look at the price of goods and services of all the major things that we buy, like a house, like a car, like, basic groceries, and the price of them then and the price of them today, as well as the price of wages back then. I believe if you go on that website, the average house in 1971 was like $25,000 or $28,000 or something like that. And the average car was like $1,300, like brand new. What happened in 1971? We got off the gold standard. Our money was no longer backstopped by a hard asset. We were able to print money to infinity, which is what we do today. So the people that get hit the hardest in this system is the people that all your lying, conniving, thieving politicians say that they're trying to help the most. The middle class. The middle class gets squeezed in a fiat system. That's why you feel, as a middle-class person watching this video, you just can't put your finger on it. You can't really explain it, but you just know something ain't right. Like, I can't tell you how many people on my Facebook or my Instagram, like, either post pictures or post some sort of status update about, like, this grocery stuff, it's got to stop. Like, I can't keep doing this. Going to the store, and they'll have a picture of, like, a table worth of stuff, and they're like, this is $120. Like, where did the money go? You know what I'm saying? And that's because of this system that I'm explaining to you. It's not because things have gotten better, goods and services wise. There is some of that. Like, technology does improve, but like, let's talk about that. Let's talk about improving technology. Do you remember how much TVs used to cost? Rich, you remember going to the store and spending like thousands of dollars on TVs? Would you say TVs have gotten better or worse?
Better.
TVs have gotten much better, right?
Well, that's funny that you brought up TVs as an example. TVs are definitely a better product than they are. And the problem, like what happened, at least in the area of like televisions, is they got super competitive. But you only would go, like, there were like what? When I was a kid, maybe 3 TVs. Mm-hmm. Like RCA.
Floor models, yep.
Yeah, like, there was only 3 or 4 different types of companies that made TVs, and now everybody in the world will make them, and they're made to be thrown out. They're not, so like, you know what I mean? Like,
but the prices have significantly decreased,
right? And it's because of the level of competition. And if you could take, and to be honest, you can go out and buy a really nice TV for about, probably percentage wise, 20% comparatively, if you did for inflation, when it used to be.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So the reason I bring that up is because we talk about like technology improving and thinking, oh, well, technology gets better, so things are better, they should cost more. It's like, no, the things that are actually tied to technology actually cost less. But everything else that I don't need a new TV every year. I don't need a 60-inch TV on my wall. Like any TV will do for me to watch TV. I may want that, right? But the stuff that I actually need, like shelter, transportation to get back and forth to my job, food, like clothes on my kids' back, like all that stuff, skyrocketing. And we can't say that it's gotten that much better. Like not exponentially better like technology has.
Yeah. That's a really good point.
That's what I'm here for, Troy.
They're stealing our purchasing power, and that's when we go back.
No. Robbing. Completely robbing. Just absolutely like thieves in the night, just taking it away from us.
Yeah, and then that's why we have this alternative system of Bitcoin. This is why we preach, and this is why, we're so passionate about teaching people about crypto and Bitcoin, because this is the alternative system we're talking about. This is money that's separate from the state. This is giving the power back to the people, I truly believe.
100%.
And I think that, the more people that get off zero and they see all these other foreign currencies go to zero to Bitcoin, and they see how their purchasing power is being protected over time, I am going to, for the rest of my life, be in Bitcoin and helping the masses understand Bitcoin, because there's a learning curve. The people that don't see the value, they don't understand how money works, and that's why we have to go back and educate people.
First principles.
Yeah, the first principles of money, what money creation is, and then we can have that conversation of what Bitcoin is and how we can have this this asset allocated to your portfolio.
It's understandable when somebody doesn't get Bitcoin, right? I totally get that. And I've had these conversations. For those of you watching on TikTok, I've been in Bitcoin since late 2013, full board in 2014.
Yeah.
So I've had tons of conversations about Bitcoin with people. People in my local area know me as Bitcoin Don, basically, because I've just been in it for so long. And my social medias, if you look me up on social media, you'll see that I've been talking about this since 2014, 2015, when nobody even was on anybody. It wasn't cool to talk about it like it is today. So I get it. Like I've had these conversations. It's because if you don't understand, number one, that you're being robbed, you don't know that you need to do something about it.
Step one is acknowledge the robbery.
Mm-hmm.
Be aware of it, because you can't change the facts until you understand, you have to come to that realization, that epiphany. I'm being fucking robbed.
If you look at Bitcoin the way that you look at like insurance policies, right? Bitcoin is your insurance policy out of this fiat system that is going to fail. Okay, that's not. I don't think that looks like. It sounds like a hot take to people. It sounds like, oh my God, this guy's a doomsday. Like it's like, no, like it's going to fail. Mm-hmm. It's not. This doesn't sustain. You can't print money to infinity. You can't create goods and service prices to continually go up and up and up and up. Price out the middle class. Have these people that are living paycheck to paycheck. It's 8 out of 10 now. When do we get to a point where it's like just the absolute elite that aren't? Like you can't keep accelerating like this and not break the system.
Yeah.
It's just inevitable. It's like when it happens is what I don't know. Like I don't know if it happens in 2 years, 5 years, 10 years, my kid's lifetime. It's just going to happen because every single paper currency up until today has always failed. Like they just always fail, especially the ones that are backed by nothing. And this one is backed by nothing.
Yeah.
It's backed by the full faith and credit of a corrupt system.
Yeah.
So go ahead.
And that's where I go back and saying, like, don't compare your chapter 1 with, someone else's chapter 20. Like, go back to the basics. Understand how everything works. And I think you really nailed that point home is, you just got to just see how the traditional system works before you can understand the alternative system.
Yeah, when I teach anybody any sort of financial literacy, the last chapter is investing. I don't want anybody investing anything until they take step 1, which is investing your time into learning. Okay. Yeah. So if you're coming at like step 0 and you know nothing, you need to start learning about the system first. Mm-hmm. You need to start learning about how things work. That's your first goal. And then from there, then you start to research, how do I get myself out of this paycheck to paycheck hole that I'm in? What do I need to change? What sort of lifestyle changes do I need to make in order to not live paycheck to paycheck? Because you don't know if your job's going to be there tomorrow. You don't know if the price of goods and services are going to accelerate out of your control. Like, you don't want to be in a spot where you can't make your next payment and your life is significantly changed. That's the second step. So then once you pull yourself out of paycheck to paycheck, then you start to say, okay, and again, this is a Bitcoin podcast or crypto podcast. We would hope that you would come to this arena. But even if you don't, you decide something else. Let's say it's stocks, equities, real estate, commodities, Beanie Babies, whatever, sports cards, whatever you decide that you want to invest. The next step is again investing more time. And I always say you want to invest somewhere around 20 hours to learning about whatever it is that you're going to put dollars into. Unfortunately, what most Americans do, and I know this becomes the conversations, hey, Don, I got $10,000. How do I make that into $20,000? How do I make that into $100,000? It's like, bro, you asking me that question is completely, you're doing it all wrong. Doing it all wrong. You need to go through all of these steps before we even get to a conversation, because what I tell you is like some asshole like me telling you something, like, what does that do for you? Like, I'm not going to hold your hand and completely walk you through the entire thing. Like, neither one of us have time for that. So I could tell you something, but if you don't know what I'm telling you, you're going to get crushed. So you need to, as an individual, decide what it is that you want to get passionate about to invest. Because, I mean, there's nothing more important than your capital. So you should take the time to realize, okay, I hear people say all the time, oh, I want to get into real estate. Oh, I want to go to a house. I was like, all right, dude, like, take the time to learn about what all that entails. Because I flipped a house before, dude. I've been in a real estate. There's a lot of shit that you don't see coming. That you think it's like, oh, I'm going to take this $10,000, I'm going to flip it, I'm going to make all this money. It's great. Dude, there's a lot of work, a lot of stuff you need to know before you jump into that arena. And if you don't, guess what mistakes cost? Profits. So you're cheating yourself profits when you don't know these things before you get into it. So learn the area, whatever it is that you think you're into, because you might realize, dude, this ain't for me. I ain't about this life. Like, I ain't even trying to do all that. That's crazy, right? So then find something else that you are. So then when you actually deploy capital, the odds of you profiting from that and getting to where you want to be significantly increase. Yeah. But people do it all wrong. They do the last step first, and they just throw their capital.
They do it
away.
backwards. Like true G-Gens, they put money in a coin, and then they find out if it's a scam or not. And sometimes that could be effective, especially with like the meme coin, the smaller altcoin community. Like, put some skin in the game. Now you're invested in it, and then do your research. But don't make that a habit. I know what you're saying, but and I know it's a little, far fetched, but that's a really good point. But I think it's that season when crypto's up only season. Sometimes the best investments are just throw your money in and then do your research. I'm not saying if you're starting investments $10,000.
I disagree.
Yeah. Well, let me finish.
Go ahead.
Well, let's say you're starting investments $10,000, right? And you throw $200 in this coin. Well, now you have $200 in this coin. You have skin in the game. Now you're incentivized to actually do the research, because some people, they're not incentivized, so they're not going to want to do the steps first to last. So some people do, like, they cheat the way. But those are the true degens. And there's a lot of degens in crypto. So I'm not saying for everyone it doesn't work. For me, I'm okay with that. I'm okay with throwing $200 in a meme coin and then finding out if it's a scam or not before I put more money in. And if it is something I don't like there's something I don't like that I see, I won't put more money in.
Totally fine with what you just said, because that's you. Mm-hmm. You are a smart investor.
Right.
Most people are not, and we see this every single cycle. People make gobs of money on paper, but they don't make it in actual profits. Mm-hmm. They jump in the market without, like, we've been doing this podcast for over a year now, right? And people will get the bulk of our subscribers, and we'll get the bulk of people watching us when things are ripping, right? So things are ripping, and then they'll come in and they'll look for information. But by that point, it's going to be too late, because the euphoria sets in, and they're watching these $10,000 Bitcoin candles. And when Bitcoin's doing a $10,000 candle, that means that one of these altcoins or some of these altcoins are doing 10 and 20Xs in like a week. So people are just throwing money in, and then they get euphoric. And when you're euphoric, you make your worst investment decisions. Yeah. You don't take profits. You're like, dude, you don't think about, oh, I put 1,000 in and now it's worth 10. I just made $9,000. You think to yourself, holy shit, this 10,000 could be $1 million, and I don't want to cost myself a chance to be a millionaire. I'm letting it ride. And they let it ride, and maybe it goes to 20, 30,000, and then it just gets worse. Then they never pull it out until they watch it come all the way back down, because they're coming in with no plan. They don't know what they're doing, and they're not gonna capitalize correctly.
Perfect example of this is Olympus Dow and Klima Dow back in 2021. That was a shit show. A lot of money to be made, but if you don't have an exit strategy, like that's why I always say before I even enter a position, I'm planning my exit. Like I'm planning my exit for this upcoming bull run. I'm not saying I'm going to sell everything. I'm going to rotate a lot of my profits into Bitcoin, but I have a plan. And if you don't have a plan, you have no plan, you're going to be wrecked. You're going to round trip your bags to zero. That's just the truth. And it's going to suck. And you got to make an Excel sheet. It's that easy, man. Like it's not easy. Like I think bear markets are easier than bull markets because you can just buy anything during a bear market. Not on the way down, but the bull markets are hard.
Bear markets are where you make your money.
Yeah.
Bear markets are where you do your learning. You do your investing.
Yeah. Building in the bear market.
You're learning because the noise is low, so you're not distracted, right? If you're trying to learn when you're watching Bitcoin go from like 70 grand to 100,000, you're just, oh my God, I'm missing out. And you get nervous and you get excited and you're not putting the time and the necessary learning in that you need to, you get wrecked.
Yeah. It gets frothy out there.
That's why we started this podcast specifically
in the
bear market. So we have a library of education where number one, it gives us credibility because it's like, okay, we're not just out here when everybody's making money. Like we were out here when people were the coins were down. Like our portfolios were down 75%. You know what I'm saying? So educating people, showing them this is how the stuff works, reallocating your bags, getting yourself in a position, giving information so people know how this market works. So then when things do rocket off, I do believe like we have something like on YouTube right now, we have something like 210 or something subscribers. The people that have been watching our stuff consistently, those people are going to do the best out of anybody else that comes on after the fact because they're getting consistent information. They're hearing us week after week saying the same things. And hopefully like light bulbs are going off and they're getting it. And then we're preparing them for that situation that we say is inevitable when things go nuts. And it's like, oh, this is what Troy and Don were talking about when the prices are going so parabolic and you're just like frozen and like euphoria. This is what they need.
So you're going to get, they're called the drunken glasses, right? And when the market's frothy and you're on Twitter, your algorithm will show you what you want to see to keep your attention. So you're going to have to know how to unfollow people. When people don't fit your narratives and they're actually hurting you financially, unfollow them because right now it's still early, but it's when your portfolio does a 10x or 20x or 30x, you're going to want to consolidate your following and take profits, stick to your systematic plan, and then walk away. Take a break from Twitter. You don't have to sit on Twitter and because once you do sell, your human instincts, you're going to want to keep following the prices and be like, oh, I could have made this. Oh, I could have done this differently and bargaining with yourself. Take a break. You made your 500% on your portfolio, walk away. There always will be another bear market, and there always going to be another bull market. And you have to have that in mind.
I 100% agree with you. And you made me think of something else while you were saying that. Like, I don't ever want to be a content creator or podcast, whatever you call that like my audience just always agrees with everything that I say. Yeah. I don't want that. I want people to question everything that I say and even disagree with things that I say because the disagreements creates dialogue and the dialogue is good for you and it's also good for me.
Engagement.
Yeah. I'm continually learning and I don't think every single thing that I say is 100% fact. There's a lot of things that I'm giving you opinions on that I feel a certain way today, but that can evolve down the line. Like there's very few areas in life where I can't pivot my thoughts and positions on. And I just think if you're the type of person, and this is why like politics is like, for me, I watch politics like I watch sports. It's pure entertainment. I think it's all fake. I think it's all just like nonsense. And people get all uptight about things. And it's like, dude, like these dudes that are telling you things, they don't even believe what they're saying. You know what I'm saying? Like, so you get caught up in your team red, your team blue. And it's like, bro, the dude that you love, like he don't even believe what he's saying. So it's like, it's all entertainment. So there's very few things that I can't be persuaded to believe differently on. And one of the only things that I can't is that Bitcoin's the best asset that's ever created. You got to create something better that does the qualities that Bitcoin does better for me to think that.
You know how we talk about, we always end the podcast with don't trust, verify?
Yes, sir.
Moon landing.
Ooh. You want to bring that one up?
Yeah. We're going
So that goes to, there was a video.
Yeah, we'll pull it up for the.
Yeah. There was a video that I saw. I sent it to Troy this morning, actually. It was like a late addition to our podcast timeline that we were going to go over. And I thought it would be cool to talk about this because I know it's going to stir some people up. And again, this is my opinion that I'm going to give. I'm not saying I believe this to be fact. I'm even going to give you like the percentage that I believe it to be real. And it's not 100. So I acknowledge that my belief could be incorrect. But there's a video that's circulating around social media. And again, I'm not even completely sure that the video itself is real, but my feelings on this I can still give because I felt this way for decades, honestly. So there's a video of Vladimir Putin and some of his aides watching some video that's showing the pictures of the moon landing, and it's allegedly that the Google AI system has targeting the videos that are both pictures and the videos from the moon landing to be fake, saying that they're not real. They were doctored by the government. And for me personally, I haven't trusted our government for a long time. It didn't really kick in until 2008 for me because that's when I really started to pay attention to politics, the great financial crisis, and just following how this whole country and everything that makes it up is a complete shit show. Like, that's when I really was following it. But like, even in the early 2000s, I really was skeptical that we ever landed on the moon. My thesis for that, because I'll share that, if you think back to the 1960s, JFK got assassinated, RFK got assassinated, MLK got assassinated, Malcolm X got assassinated. They were taking out a lot of major figures, political figures, in that decade. So there was a lot of turmoil in this country. You know, none of us in this room were old enough to like recognize that. So I feel like they needed to do something to close that out, to like get us into a more cohesive, united front. And they also were going to try to they wanted to try to get to the moon before it was either Russia or China. I can't remember which country that we were trying to get there before. So I feel like my personal feelings is that they came up with this conspiracy and they doctored these photos and they doctored these videos to make us believe, because it was much easier in 1969 with the technology that was available to us to believe that we landed on the moon. And it made people feel good and it gave people pride and it did a lot of good things. And 2 years later, they pulled the rug out from under us and they took us off the gold standard. And I feel like it was a precursor to that. That's why I feel that way. So for me, I feel somewhere between 80 to 85% chance that we did not land on the moon. And part of that also is because like we landed on the moon in 69 and the technology in 1969 is nowhere near the technology of today. And we haven't really been back. And that's kind of awkward and weird. And you're seeing like Elon Musk send these rockets out into the that are just like the top of the top line, that are like not making it through the whatever that thing is called up in the atmosphere, and they're like burning up. And it's like, how did we get it in one shot in 69 and we fail more often than not today? So it's just like, and again, it comes back to the fact that I don't trust my government, because a lot of the stuff that they feed us is just not true. Like I need to verify things.
The YouTube algorithm ain't gonna like that one.
No, I don't think so. But I mean, it is what it is. Like I don't. And again, that's why, you know, a lot of libertarians find their way to Bitcoin. And for a long time, I probably when I was considering myself more of a participant in politics, I would have been more of a libertarian or a moderate or whatever the case may be. And I think that's a libertarian viewpoint. Today, I have ideologies on individual issues, but I don't really. I think both political parties are just lying, thieving con men.
We're gonna rotate it real quickly, and this is a little bit different. We're going far out both ends, but
yeah, moon landing was.
We'll make this quick.
So
about
crypto.
The world's largest crypto. We're going from moon landing to crypto. Well, that goes back to don't trust, verify.
Right,
you know?
right. That was
All right.
good spin.
U.S. settles with the world. We're going to make this really briefly because this last point I want to end off is has to do with the Matrix, the movie that that you sent me in that thread. But basically, the world's largest crypto exchange, Binance, and this is a little bit late, but CZ to step down pays $4.3 billion fine. Because I hear a lot of people say this is good for crypto and this is bad for crypto. I think personally it's good for crypto. I don't think there's any more things in front of us that are really going to stop us from this new bull run besides maybe some tether FUD, but that's I think people don't really understand about the tether FUD, and they'll just throw that out there just to shoot their 15K Bitcoin targets that will probably never come. But I think this is good for crypto exchanges. Do you think it's because they don't want Binance to have this large of a market share and influence because the suits are coming? BlackRock, they're coming for your Bitcoin. So that's another narrative I see coming on is they just don't want them to have such a large market share because they're the largest crypto exchange. How big? Do you know how by percentage wise their market share?
I don't know the exact number, but I think there's a couple different things. There's layers to this. There's a lot of layers to this. And answering that question that you asked, it's hard to just say yes or no, good or bad. There's a couple different things that are going on here. Number one, you have to acknowledge that if CZ didn't tweet what he tweeted a year ago,
FTX,
we don't find out really what was going on with FTX and Alameda. Like CZ was integral in taking that fraud down, right? So he was going to save them. Then he got to look at their books and was like, this thing is completely fraudulent. I ain't touching it. And then that basically allowed us to have FTX leave the system. I think, personally, FTX was much more dangerous to the system of Bitcoin and crypto than Binance is or was.
And the market didn't really budge, The market didn't budge much since that news came out about CZ stepping down. So I think people are optimistic. I think this is actually good for crypto.
I think I don't know if it's good for crypto prices. It's good for short-term, intermediate-term prices.
Yeah, prices.
That is true.
Yeah.
Because I think there is some market manipulation.
He's still working behind the scenes.
I think there's some market manipulation at play with Binance for sure. So if we're talking about price, it's probably a good thing. But this is more of like Operation Choke Point 2.0. Like going after Kraken, going after Binance, going after all these exchanges. Like the U.S. government has their own like agenda, and that's to like try to shut off these on-ramps for people to get. I truly believe, regardless of how stupid they sound and how corrupt that they are, that most of these politicians who are anti, let's say, crypto, know the danger that Bitcoin possesses to the system that they profit handsomely off, okay? Your Nancy Pelosi's, your Elizabeth Warren's, all the people that are tied directly to that Wall Street money, they understand that. I don't think they're dumb. They don't get to these positions of power without having some. You might think that they're stupid. You might hate them, whatever the case may be, but you can't be a complete moron and ascend to the type of power that they do. There has to be some smarts behind that. So I believe that these people understand Bitcoin. Even though they pretend and say stuff that you're just like, this dude has no idea. I think they get it. And that's why they say the things that they do, especially Elizabeth Warren. I think Elizabeth, like, we've made fun of her, and if you look back at our YouTube, again, Define Productions on YouTube, if you look at our YouTube, we've made some videos of some of the things that she said about crypto or some of the things she said about Bitcoin. I think she understands, like, the money train that she's at is in danger with what Bitcoin could potentially do.
Yeah.
So I think that the government going after Binance and all of these other coins isn't the greatest.
Yeah.
In my opinion, because it's going to stop people from being able to get exposure to Bitcoin or crypto, because like the amount of opportunities are dwindling.
Yeah.
Right? Like in New York State alone, that's where we're at. We're in Niagara Falls, New York right now. the only really spots that we can use for like your layman's, like for people that aren't more advanced and don't know the exchanges like Uniswaps and stuff like that, that somebody like you are more like technically savvy to be able to use. You got Coinbase and Gemini, right? And Gemini's in trouble right now. Like Gemini's got their Gemini Earn thing going on, and they actually have the SEC coming after them. And you know, there's been back and forth with Coinbase and the SEC as well. And Brian Armstrong, they're definitely at odds. So I mean, there could be a legitimate future where like there are no on-ramps in New York State. That the crypto and Bitcoin that you get now or that you're accumulating will be all that you'll be able to get.
I'm getting out of New York.
So like again, like there's two different ways to answer that question. For the price, which is like a lot of people come here for the price. I originally came here for the price. It's a good thing because Binance definitely does some price suppression. So chopping them down a block will be good for this next bull run and rocketing the prices off. And I believe Larry Fink, BlackRock CEO, who's going to have this, you know, ETF coming out soon, most likely had something to do with the SEC going after CZ. And there's also breaking news that I don't think was in that article that I just saw yesterday. Apparently, CZ came to the U.S. and he didn't have to, and he can potentially be detained now.
Is he still here?
I briefly saw it, and I'm not really sure, but I guess he was in the UAE or somewhere that they didn't have deportation, and he was tweeting some stuff. And your tweets can get you in trouble. And I guess they somehow got him to come here to pay the fine, allegedly. And now that he's on U.S. soil, they could potentially detain him. And
he's doing some time.
He could get up to 10 years, I guess, which is
insane.
Completely ridiculous. But that's a whole nother conversation. So the long-winded answer to that is like, overall for our space, I don't think it's great.
We're coming down to our last moments here, but I just want to read this one more thread, and if you have some, you know, you can thoughts about it. But I can pull this tweet up, and it goes: the cult classic movie The Matrix metaphorically describes the fiat monetary system in a scary, accurate way. So we're talking about the movie. So in the movie, AI robots create a mirage for the entire human species in order to absorb all of their life energy. In this world, humans lived a lie while their life energy was drained for the benefit of the machines. Now, humans were reduced to batteries. Is the fiat system not exactly like this? Replace AI with bankers or the political class, and it's the same thing. The mirage is that we are sold the American dream. We take out loans for school. We take on mortgages. We spend all our credit cards in a never-ending debt cycle just to try to get ahead. But rather than allow the citizens to benefit from the productivity gains of technology and to save us and build wealth over time, they deny us that ability by overtaxing us, overregulating us, and debasing the currency. While Jay Powell was asked why 2% inflation, the Fed's target, was even necessary, he couldn't answer the question. He literally said, "I don't know," in front of a Senate committee. I'll tell you what Jay Powell won't. The inflation is there to make sure you can't get off the hamster wheel. The more you have to work, the more the taxes you'll generate for Uncle Sam. They want to make sure that they milk you just enough for every ounce of your life's energy through overtaxes like income, sales, and property taxes, plus the hidden tax of inflation, like a battery. In the movie, Morpheus had always been looking for the one. He thought the person who could beat the machines and liberate humanity was by unplugging every single human being from the Matrix. I think people are ready. They sense a disturbance in the Matrix. Most cannot articulate the reason for the problems they face, but they know that something is wrong with the money that you just talked about earlier in the podcast. So in the movie, if humans were made aware of their flight, many would have simply opted out of the Matrix by unplugging. If enough people were unplugged, the robots would have no energy source. They would cease to exist. Similar to if humans opted out of the fiat financial system, it too would cease to exist. Now this goes to Bitcoin is the one technology that can unplug. Bitcoin is the one technology that can unplug humanity from the fiat money matrix. Maybe economic, I don't know how to say it, Frederick Hayek was actually Morpheus because he he said the invention of Bitcoin long before anyone ever heard of Satoshi. And this is a quote by Frederick. I don't believe we shall ever have good money again before we take the thing out of the hands of government. All we can do is by some sly, roundabout way introduce something that can't be stopped. So they're basically making Frederick out to be like Morpheus on Bitcoin.
Yeah. All of that encompasses why I feel so strongly about Bitcoin and why I believe that it's the only option that we have out of this corrupt, failing fiat system. I just wish that we could get more people to see it, but I also recognize that the battle that we have is steep. It's a steep uphill battle that we have to onboard people into Bitcoin, and unfortunately, my fear that I think may end up being reality is that by the time the overwhelming majority of people recognize that Bitcoin was the lifeboat, it'll be too late for them to accumulate enough that'll have any sort of significant difference on their life, and they'll just be stuck in whatever new matrix that there will be. Because although Bitcoin will save us, there will be some other system that will be enacted that will be
CBDCs.
I don't believe, like a lot of people think, and I just don't. They think that Bitcoin will be the standard. I don't think it ever will be. I don't think that Bitcoin will be like the money. I think Bitcoin will always be there for guys like us that just say F you to whatever new system that they create. Because I just don't think there's a big incentive for the people that control the system to allow there to be this decentralized system that everybody is just allowed to just freely engage in. There'll be some new decentralized system that'll exist. Like if the dollar fails, they'll figure out some other way. And maybe they backstop that. But even when you backstop the money, it's still centralized.
Yeah.
There'll still be some central entity that will make decisions that affect your life. And Bitcoin will be the opportunity for people that are like, F you, I don't have to do what you say. Your monetary policies don't affect my net worth and don't affect my buying power because I have this asset that's going to continue to go the opposite direction, whatever money you decide the people have to engage in. And that's what makes me it both does two things. Number one, it continues to reinvigorate me about this space, and it also makes me sad.
Yeah. Thank you guys for watching. Give us a like, comment, subscribe. We like engagement. We want people, if you disagree with us, whether it's positive, negative, shoot your thoughts. You want to say something?
Yeah, we'll be live. We'll be live. Rich, you want to give some information on what we'll be live on this Saturday?
Yeah, we're gonna try to do a live stream from Niagara Falls High School in Niagara Falls, New York, at their high school, and it's part of the Niagara Falls Firefighters Toy Fund. Just a fun way to kind of get some extra attention on the hard work that those guys do to try to help the community. When I was a public school teacher, I was involved with them, and they've kind of invited us back to kind of go and just be part of the day. So if you want to kind of come out and meet the boys, they can, or just come and meet me, because it's a night. If you're interested in this type of content creation, whether it's Star Wars or Bitcoin, this is for me a really exciting time to be learning new things. But it's a chance for you to come out, maybe talk to us like in person. And also maybe help out a group of people that are trying to do something good in our community, because there's not enough of that.
Absolutely.
So we'll probably be going on Saturday live, probably starting around 12, plus or minus 15 minutes. And it'll probably just be on my YouTube channel, which is Maranto Media YouTube channel, just be on there. And hopefully we'll get some other folks to come in and be part of the day.
Awesome.
Yeah, we're looking forward to it.
Yeah, definitely looking forward to it. And we'll finish the podcast with our favorite saying, Don't trust, verify. Thank you for watching.